I have no doubt in my mind that the map's going to pass. If y'all can give us less than 0 seats, you would do it. Y'all do this under the orders of somebody that said the Civil Rights Act was harmful to white people, that it caused reverse racism. RFK said that black children are overfilled on antidepressants and that they need to be reparented on different forms, all of them. Pete Hegseth constantly brings Doug Wilson to the Pentagon to give a prayer service. Doug Wilson is the same pastor that said that slave owners were on strong spiritual ground. I don't have no belief in no morality on anybody that followed Donald Trump. If you wasn't with this map, you wouldn't be underneath this president. You wouldn't be in your party. You would stand up, you would stand against it, you would speak out about it. So as far as I'm concerned, if you here as one of these Trump Republicans, you already showed us who you are. You showed us what you want to do. And I believe the country as a whole is rebuking your party. Y'all are in a death spiral. That's why y'all have to redistrict. That's why y'all have to cheat. That's why Trump got to go to Texas and say he entitled to 5 more seats. It's because y'all know what y'all doing is abhorrent. We letting our people die in Iran based on false pretense that Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kent say it ain't real. Y'all okay with all that. So I'm positive y'all gonna be okay with the maps. But the beautiful thing is, the children that y'all have made and the people that's younger than y'all don't support none of this racism that y'all want. The MAGA party is the last breath of the Confederacy. And I'll be happy to see millennials and Gen Z bury y'all. There will be no more of your party. The midterms gonna come, y'all gonna get wiped out. Trump gonna get dragged out of the White House, and I'ma love every second of it. Because y'all loved every second of the suffering that he caused to everybody in this country. And worldwide, we starve in Cuba. We bomb Nigeria. We holding Zimbabwe and Zambia hostage for their minerals. We don't want to give them aid support. The pro-lifers that say all life is special, y'all letting kids die of AIDS. What part of your Bible say that? Point out the scripture. I think everybody would love to see it. And we would love to see y'all in the midterms.
Just moments ago, a new brutal report on wholesale inflation. Way worse than expected. You can see that's the month-to-month increase at 1.4%. That was much more than was expected on an annualized basis. It's at 6%.
Jesus.
This after consumer inflation just surged to the highest level in 3 years. With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Etten. So we've been talking about inflation. We've been talking about the president's approval on it, which is not good. Our new poll shows that people are very unhappy with the economy, with inflation, with his handling of inflation. On a historical perspective, though, how much don't they like how he's handling inflation?
These are the ugliest numbers I have ever seen on inflation. And it's not just one poll, Johnny Berman. It's many polls. Just take a look here. President's net approval on inflation. The 5 worst polls ever for any president. They all belong to Donald John Trump, and they have all occurred in the last month. The CNN poll, one of them, 48 points below water on the net approval rating. So what we're talking about here is the worst numbers ever in multiple polls now belong to the president of the United States, Donald Trump. It is a record, simply put, you do not want to have.
The 5 worst polls ever.
5 worst polls ever.
Joe Biden's not in there?
Joe Biden's
Jimmy Carter's not in there?
Jimmy Carter's not in there.
All Donald Trump?
All Donald Trump. The 5 worst ever belong to this gentleman on this side of the screen.
You don't even know what the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence. Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war? It's $631 billion, which means it's an increase of $5,000 a year. It's one thing if you said, okay, it costs the American people $5,000, but we think it's worth it. That's what we've done in World War II and other wars. Here's what it costs. You got to pay for it. You don't even know what the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence.
Are you having trouble staying awake during your very important job? And are people starting to notice and not believing the excuse that you were just blinking? Well, don't worry. Introducing Bigly Bright Eyes. With Bigly Bright Eyes, even consciousness is optional. At Bigly Bright Eyes, we took a regular pair of glasses and glued eyeballs onto them. That's it. That's the technology. Now you can snooze anytime, anywhere, and no one will even notice. Cabinet meetings, lights out. National security briefings, sweet dreams. Conversations about teen sperm counts, REM cycle, baby.
For men in 1970, men had twice the sperm count as our teenagers do today.
You may not be woke, but you're definitely awake. These Commander-in-Chief glasses come in all sorts of exciting styles, like Mrs. Doubtfire, Sassy Girl, and Red Alert. Or Silly Goose, Slay Queen, and Owl Vision. And for a limited time only, the Erica Kirk Smoky Eye. Nobody's gonna call you sleepy anymore, and people won't be able to take their eyes off of yours. Bigly Bright Eyes, because America is exhausting. So take a nap, but just don't look like you are. Don't mind if I do.
It is clear that while they've talked about these partisan actors sitting on the court, the only ones that are partisan actors are the 6 Republican appointee justices in this moment. Unfortunately, it seems like we have only gone backwards as it relates to the amount of integrity that exists even within the judiciary. I'm sure Joyce would agree with me when we look at some of these rulings that have taken place on lower courts and even in the appellate courts. We're probably thinking, why in the heck did we ever pay for a law degree? Because right now, who cares about the Constitution? Who cares about any semblance of precedence? Right now, they're just doing whatever they want to do. And frankly, it is whatever Donald Trump tells them to do.
A federal court has once again told Donald Trump his tariffs are illegal. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Trump owes you every cent of the cost of his tariffs. That's $1,700 per family. Second, my opponent, Darren Bailey, is a right-wing MAGA Republican who wants to take away a woman's right to choose. Now he's trying to hide it. Don't be fooled. If he gets elected, he'll try to do what he's always wanted and force you to live by his rules.
There's no one here, more pro-life or more pro-Second Amendment than I.
If somebody were raped or there was a matter of incest in the family, would you allow that woman to have an abortion?
Right now, my answer is no.
And to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
Right. That's the President of the United States just openly admitting he is not thinking about you and your economic pain. He's not thinking about your rising gas costs. He's not thinking about your rising home costs, the rising cost of goods, rising travel costs. He's not thinking about any of that. Which is an interesting thing to say in an election year when most Americans are saying the economy is their number one issue. Okay, that's number one. But two, it is a thing that a different president could say and have it make sense, right? Another president could say, listen, there's going to be some economic pain as a result of this war, but this war is really important and we're all going to be safer and better off on the other side of it. I'm going to help get us through it. Here are the things I'm going to do to help offset some of this economic pain. But the problem is Trump didn't sell this war. He didn't sell it to anybody. He didn't sell it to American voters. He didn't sell it to our allies. He's given myriad reasons over the course of the months that we've now been locked in this quagmire of a war, numerous reasons for it. None of them have motivated the American people to get on board for this war. It's still wildly unpopular. And it's also coming at a time when the president is saying affordability is a hoax. And he's completely dismissing the top issue that most Americans say matters to them. So it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him in a midterm election. Oh, and by the way, the reason he is now saying We have to endure this economic pain so that Iran won't be a nuclear country. We're no closer to that. The enriched material is still buried under rubble. We are no closer to making that a reality. Just saying.
Everybody's picking on my bank account. He said, so Ken Griffin said that. That's what he said, that Mondami's video was creepy and weird and frightening. He said it was frightening. So he's like, I'm a victim. I feel so under assault. And isn't it the case with these parasites? They're such victims, just like Trump.
I ended 8 wars. Nobody else ever ended a war. And the person that won the Nobel Prize, Maria, she's a good person. She said, I don't deserve this. This deserves to President Trump. There's never been a man that deserves a Nobel Prize. He ended 8 wars, including India, Pakistan, which would have been a nuclear war. 8 of them. And I called everybody in, Gary, and I said, you know what? We just broke every record, and now we're going to take a hit.
Oh, I'll never get the Nobel Peace Prize. Even the woman who won it, she said I deserved it, but I stopped 8 wars and no one gives it to me, and I'm so put upon. Everything is so unfair to me. Oh, I'm a victim. Just like the murder of a CEO. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Taxing you is not akin to a murder. Right? It's like they're so fucked up. And that's why I say it's time to tax them for their own good at this point. They need to be taxed because they need help. You got to take away. It's like an alcoholic that needs, complete abstinence is the only cure.
Let me ask you a question. What happened to the Confederate soldiers after the Civil War? Answer the question. What happened to the Confederate soldiers, Confederate generals, the president of the Confederacy? What happened to everybody who seceded from the United States and then proceeded to attack the United States? The first shots of the Civil War were fired at Fort Sumter. The Confederacy fired on the North. And then after that war was over, what happened? Don't worry, I'll tell you. They went home. They went home, and then we proceeded to not do shit. Nothing to hold them accountable for what they did to commit treason against the United States. And then you know what they did when they went home? Do you know what they did when they went home? They taught their children their ideologies, and their children taught their children. In 1894, there was a group started called the United Daughters of the Confederacy. That's the group that is solely responsible for resurrecting Confederate statues across the South. The reason they did it was to remind black people where they were. That was their actual stated reasoning. They also rewrote textbooks. They didn't call it the Civil War. They called it the War of Northern Aggression. The battle flag of Northern Virginia, which is also known as the Southern Cross, that was also found on the second and third national flags of the Confederacy, was also resurrected by the United Daughters of the Confederacy. We call it the Confederate flag, aka the rebel flag. And it started flying all across the South. In fact, the first time that flag was flown inside the U.S. Capitol wasn't when the Confederacy invaded the U.S. during the Civil War, but it was on January 6, 2021. Now, why would a flag from the Civil War be walking through the halls of the Capitol on January 6, 2021? I'll tell you why. Because after the Civil War, the Confederacy just went home. We didn't do anything to hold them accountable, and they taught their children, who taught their children, who taught their children, who taught me, because I was raised that way. I was raised to believe heritage, not hate. I was raised to believe the Civil War was about states' rights, not about slavery. I was raised to believe that white people freed the slaves because we're such good white folk. I was raised to believe on all the propaganda that southern states taught their children after the Civil War. I was raised in a country that was governed by laws that were specifically written after the Civil War to give people rights, but just enough rights to maintain the mythology of white supremacy. The 13th Amendment ended slavery and involuntary servitude, but only if you weren't convicted of a crime. And then in 1866, the black codes were created. Vagrancy laws were created to make newly freed black people criminals, so they could be slaves again. The 14th Amendment's currently under attack by this administration. Why would the 14th Amendment, written after the Civil War, be under attack by an administration in 2026? Because after the Civil War, the Confederacy just went home and taught their children who taught their children who taught their children. We've been in a cold Civil War with the losing side of the Civil War since the Civil War ended. They lost, but they didn't give up. That's why they use the phrase, the South will rise again. I heard that my whole life. And the South will rise again means that they will take over the United States government because they lost the first time. And now they have. You need to understand this problem is not Donald Trump. The problem is not just Stephen Miller. The problem is that while they prepared themselves from 1865 to present day to rise again, nobody took it seriously. And now that they have risen to the highest ranks of the government, now that they are rigging our elections, now that they have written out publicly a plan to maintain power for the next 100 years, you think we will simply vote them out in the midterms and all our fucking problems are solved. They are not the problem. They are a symptom of the problem that we have continued to ignore in this country for the better part of the entire existence of this country. The Confederacy controls the government. The mythology of white supremacy is making the rules. And I fear that we still don't see that and still don't have plans to hold the Confederacy, to hold white supremacy, to hold MAGA accountable. I fear that we think this is a single person problem, a single administration problem. I fear you don't understand what's actually happening in this country, and I fear you are not fucking mad enough. You are not alerted enough. All the 5 alarm bells. This is a 5 alarm bell, a 5 alarm bell. Everybody says this shit every fucking day, and I fear that not enough people truly grasp the gravity of what's actually fucking happening. The Confederacy went home and spent the last 160 years making a plan to rise again, and they succeeded. So now the question becomes, what the fuck are we going to do? Because electeds are not going to help us. Democrats don't know what the fuck they're doing. The power of the people has always been more powerful than the power of the people in charge. Wake up, America.
When I walked into the House floor last Thursday, it was 2026, and when I walked off the House floor, it was pre-1965. Just yesterday, I received a letter from the Speaker of the House of Tennessee removing me from every committee that I serve on as a member. And not just me, but every black elected official in Tennessee has now been removed from their committees. This is what we mean when we're facing a new system of Jim Crow inequality.
Donald Trump and Republicans know their agenda is unpopular. Their skyrocketing profit prices are unpopular. Their party is unpopular. They are rigging the maps and blatantly racially discriminating and gerrymandering.
What happens in moments like these, when our rights are stripped from us, that we don't back down, we fight harder.
When courts weaken voting rights, it becomes our responsibility to fight even harder to protect every person's freedom to vote and to have their voice heard.
We are facing real forces that are very intent on being enemies of multiracial democracy. This is not political tit for tat. This is racial retaliation. Whether they wear white sheets or black robes in the Supreme Court, we must call out white supremacist terror. Whether they wear suits and have titles and do it in the nice demeanor of decorum. What is happening is policy violence. And so the Speaker kicked me off my committee, but I said to hell with these committees. You cannot take away our voice. You cannot silence the voice of a people who will not bow down. We are not going back. 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 We are not going back.
It's time for the Trucker John live stream. Gonna be a good time. Oh yeah. The Trucker John live stream. Come along for a good time. It's a good time, good time, good time, good time. Trucker John live stream. Gonna be a good time. Gonna be the time of your life. Gonna talk some shit. Hush your mouth. Gonna talk a little smack. Gonna talk whatever comes of it. You're gonna always wanna come back. Well, yeah, it's the Trucker John live stream. He's the biggest, baddest, funniest mother you've ever seen. Watch your mouth, he's headed south. Not even sure what that means, but if it's one thing I know, the Trucker John live stream is the best thing you've ever seen.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that intro. Let's see. Can you hear me? Good morning, everybody. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, here it is, 9:35 a.m. in the Pacific Time Zone. And it is currently, I think, only 63 degrees, so kind of a cool morning. Oh, no, it's 83 degrees. My bad. But 84, just went up to 84. So yeah, temperatures rising. Expected high today of 97 here in beautiful Las Vegas. Out here on the outer rim of Boulder Highway. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. We got 20 people watching, 25 thumbs ups. Low number, but at least we're acting like good Democrats. And with a bit of a surplus there. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share, and hit that hype button. If you have a hype button, I'm not going to tell you where it is because, I don't know, everyone's devices are different. But there's a hype button. There should be a hype button, and you push it, and then it'll hype the show. So if you can do that, that'd be great. That helps get us out in the algorithm. It pushes us out there. Just real quick on the intro, the Jolly Good Ginger guy. He's the guy with the big beard, and the gap tooth or whatever. Spot on. I've been saying this shit my whole fucking life. What he just said. I've been saying that my whole life. So I'm glad to hear someone else saying it because I feel like no one listens to me. No one fucking listens to me. I've been saying that my whole life. In fact, I just had videos that I just put out earlier in the week asking the question, will the South rise again? I didn't just really pull that out of my ass. Like Jolly, I've been hearing that my whole fucking life. But the South always saying that they're going to rise again. I've gotten into arguments about when people say that the Civil War wasn't about slavery, it was about Northern aggression. And I tell them, you're taking the side of the Confederates then. You're a Confederate. I've said this to my family members. Wake up, people. Wake up. But yes, we do need to vote. And I think one of the points that he was trying to make is that even if we vote in November and we take back the House, maybe the Senate or whatever, that's not the end of it. And even if we get the White House in 2028, that's not the end of it. It never fucking ends. It can't ever end. It requires constant gardening. This republic, if we want to maintain it and keep it constitutional, keep it democratic, keep it free, it requires constant gardening. You can't just vote and go, all right, I did that. That's my job. No, you got to keep voting. You got to keep promoting. You got to keep involved. You got to keep reading some fucking news articles. You got to stay on this shit. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, I'm so busy. I got 5 kids and a job. Okay, fine. You're commuting. If you're commuting, you can listen. If you're on a bus, I know I got a 2-hour bus ride. That gives me plenty of time. I can watch all kinds of shit. I can watch videos. I can read shit. I can read articles. I can stay up on the topics, and I don't have to just watch Instagram models. Not that I would ever do that. I can spend some time actually on the issues, on the current events that are going on. Anyhow, I just got some new coffee. I ran out of the truck full of nuts. And since I'm on a budget, I just bought Don Francisco. I've had the Don Francisco coffee before. This is like the dark. I've had the little K-Pods before. But since I've switched over and I'm using the regular ground coffee, I have never had this Don Francisco. This will be my first sip. I've been blowing on it because I just poured it. I have not tasted it, so I'm going to take a taste. We'll take a little taste. See if the Don. I remember I really liked the Don Francisco, the K-Pod. Let's see if I like this better. It's very hot though, and I'm drinking it black. Like I drink my. No. Let's see. It's hard to tell because I took a tiny little sip because I don't want to burn my tongue. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think I like the chock full of nuts better. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when it cools down. I can actually take a bigger kind of a gulp. Anyhow, everyone, thanks for being here. I do appreciate you. Jolie was first. Jolie gets the trophy. Today's first place trophy goes to Jolie. Thank you so much. Always appreciate Jolie being here. Anna Moore's here. Hey, Anna, good to see you. Real quick though, just a reminder. Oh, never mind. I thought I already had it preloaded. I thought I had it pre-typed. Okay, let me do this real quick. I think we're at like 4,400 and something, 39, something like that. Trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. Let's do this. All right. Let's see if that works. I've been reading all these little things of like what you're supposed to do to, I don't know, increase traffic to the channel and get people involved or whatever, and it says you should put little things on the screen. So there it is. 5K sub currently, I think 4438 thereabouts, and we're trying to get to 5,000 because 5K Hennessy Day. All right, let me go. Let me get back to the chat here. Anna Moore's here. Hey, Anna Moore, good to see you. Anna says, loving that one-man pandemic theme, TJ. It's an accurate description of DJT. Yeah, and I'm learning how to use AI stuff and tell it to do stuff. I said, make me a picture or a cartoon of Trump just being this one-man pandemic. And that's what it made. DPD 5844 is here. Hello, DPD. Good to see you. Batrazi is here. Good to see you. MJ Daniels from up there in Washington State. Good to see MJ. MJ says, good morning from Olympia, Washington. Yes, where we do not worship the orange ass. Good for you. Isn't that special? Janelle Walker's here. Hey, Janelle, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. Oh, thanks for coming on in. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. Anna Moore says, I will be dancing in the street when they drag Trump out of the White House. Losing. We definitely have to have a big old party. Some sort of party when he gets out of here. When we get him out of there. For sure. For show. Brooklyn SJU says, I'll be dancing with you. Yep. I think we're all going to be dancing in the streets. That song, Dancing in the Streets, is going to have a resurgence. You know that one? Aaron West is here. So we've got Aaron here. We've got Jolie here. You know, the Mod Squad. So you know what that means? We're at full mod capacity. We're at full mod capacity, ladies and gentlemen. MJ Daniel says, once that turd DJT done, the Republic voters will only look for the next turd to polish. Wash, rinse, repeat stupidity. That's why I say it's never done. It requires constant gardening. We cannot just vote in November or in 2028 and think, okay, our job is done. No, we got to keep voting. We got to keep promoting. We got to keep getting the message out there. We got to keep exposing the corruption wherever it exists, even if it's on our side. But you know what? I'm confident that when we find corrupt politicians, corrupt officials, corrupt people in government, I'm pretty confident that the majority of the time it's going to be fucking Republicans, because that's been the history, at least within my lifetime. I don't want someone digging out something from 1890 or whatever. I don't give a fuck. But I know within my lifetime, you're going back to Nixon and Watergate, going back to Reagan with Iran-Contra, George Bush being appointed by the Supreme Court as president. I mean, it just goes on and on. And those are just a couple of little things, you know. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. We got to keep on it. We got to keep on it. We can't just go to sleep. Petrozzi says, Kes Breckfast is a drunken frat boy. He's a fucking drunken idiot. That's what he is. Anna Moore says, worst numbers ever belong to Trump, not Clinton, not Biden, not Trump. I mean, but Trump. I really do need to maybe get better glasses. Let's see. I'm just scrolling down here, seeing who else popped in. Josh Sees is here. Always good to see Josh Sees. And I do see Liberal Dan here. Yes, he is. There he is. Hey, Liberal Dan. Good to see you. Thanks for popping on in. I do appreciate Liberal Dan coming on in. For those of you, I'm sure most of you in the chat, you all know who Liberal Dan is. But if anyone's watching out there who doesn't know, Liberal Dan has probably I would say, no. What am I saying? Not probably. Absolutely the best show, best live show on the internet. And that's the Liberal Dan Show every Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central Time, right here on the YouTubes. So check it out if you haven't already. Who else we got in here? Who else is in this darn chat room I could say hello to? I think I've said hello to just about everybody. We did bump up to 36 watching. We went from 20 to 36, so that's pretty cool. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate you. And if anyone who is watching this on the replay, I appreciate you. And you can feel free to drop a comment down in the comment section. Do that. That helps out the show too. And just a reminder, we do have memberships. I'm just looking at my notes here. We got memberships starting as low as $1.99 a month. And we have a middle tier, I think it's $4.99 a month. Might want to check that out. Alrighty, so what else is going on? What else is going on in you guys' life? We got Nick Rich 56 here. Good to see Nick Rich. Thanks for being here. This coffee's pretty good. I think I like it. It's funny how different coffees taste a little bit different for some reason. You think it would all be pretty much the same, but I think I like the chock full of nuts better. But it's not bad. This has a little this Don Francisco has a little how do you Americans say je ne sais quoi? No. It has a little maybe bitterness to it. Maybe that's it. So it has a little bit of a bitterness where the chock full of nuts was not. There was no bitterness detected in the chock full of nuts. And plus, it's just fun to say chock full of nuts. So, all right. So anyhow, I did find a couple memes that I wanted to check with you. But Brooklyn reminds everyone, I checked my voter registration. I'm still there. And I'm glad you checked, and I'm glad you're still there. Make sure you guys check. I know we've got early voting going on, I think, starting up here in Nevada pretty soon. Our primary is on June 9th. I have not received any voting materials in my mail. So I've got to go check. But I know I re-registered when I moved here because they sent me, you know how you get your little registration card? They sent it here like a long time ago when I first moved here or whatever. They sent it here. So I know they know my new address. So I need to do that. I need to practice what I preach. I need to go and check and make sure everything's cool. Everything's cool. Jolie says, I was at a bar. Oh, you were, Jolie, out at the bar. Jolie's at a bar last night, and there was a table of 5 men loudly talking politics and openly calling Kamala the N-word. Oh, my God. And they said to top it off, she was a fucking woman, and they were laughing. How disgusting. Jolie says they were just completely open with their hatred of black people and women. I hate living in a red state. Isn't that disgusting? On so many levels. I wish my 30-year-old self had been there. That's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. My 65-and-a-half-year-old self couldn't do very much. My 30-year-old self could probably fucking clean the bar out. You know what I mean? But so disgusting that they felt so free to do that. So, free of any repercussions. That is so disgusting and vile. It really is. Yeah, and I feel bad for you, Jolie, that you have to be subjected to that. And hell, maybe my 40-year-old self might have done a little something, done a little damage, Probably my 45-year-old self probably would have done some damage. I might not have cleared the whole bar, but you know what I mean? Yeah, that's just disgusting. But there are people that just feel that free and open. I mean, just to say it no matter what, but I mean, Anna Moore says, I beg to differ that Trump is the problem because he is the president and is constantly dividing the country with his hateful rhetoric vote in all elections. Well, yeah, that's definitely true that, yeah, he's spreading lots of hate through his rhetoric, but is by saying that just getting rid of him is going to solve everything. That's probably not true, because he is the symptom. He is the symptom of decades and even centuries, going back even before we were actually, when we were still a colony of slavery, and of course, which is the ultimate racism, and having that mentality of the white slave owners and all the whites that, you know, just looked at black people as being inferior, less than human, subhuman, or whatever, that being embedded in the psyche, in their upbringing, for generation after generation after generation after generation. So Trump is the symptom of that. So yeah, we need to get rid of Trump for sure, but we need to get down to the root of this if we ever really want to get rid of these bozos at the Indiana bar there. Catherine Real Hill Talk is here. Catherine says something really unsettling happened to me yesterday. Similar theme. DPD says those in the South should take a stand by not paying their taxes, because if you want to erase me, then I will erase my coins and bank. So no taxes shall be paid by thee. That, I understand the sentiment, but you don't want to do something that's going to just give them an excuse to put you in jail. You know, I mean, they're already, you know, they already will arrest people or pull people over for driving while black. I mean, you know, but I understand the sentiment. But, you know, just be careful. Be careful out there. Nick Rich, 9:35. So what am I, 20 minutes behind? 21 minutes? I'm 21 minutes behind you, Nick Rich. I'm 21 minutes behind. 21 minutes behind you, Nick Rich. Thank you, Nick Rich. Now, Anna Moore says they are coming out because they are following their leader in the White House. Now, I do agree with that. I do agree that Trump being president, both in 2016 and then all through, even when he lost in 2020, and now, of course, now, I agree. It does embolden these racists. It does. It brings them out. It absolutely does. But he's not the cause of the problem. The problem has been here way before Trump. Trump is a result, is a product of this generational racism. But certainly him becoming president, it's given them, these racists, just sort of license to just be hateful and to throw the N-word out without any repercussions. I do have some memes. Maybe I'll take that off for a little bit. I kind of like this here. Photographic meme or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I wish that my thing would work correctly. When I'm trying to zoom in the thing, I hate that it zooms me in. I thought this was kind of funny. It says someone who posted this, they captioned it. They captioned it by saying something like, that's funny. Like I think the work on the reflecting pool has come along quite nicely, or something like that. 86, the fat orange. I guess it's pedophile. Is that what PDF is? I'm just gonna go with pedophile. You know. But I agree. I hope we 86 him. I mean, he is going to be. This is his last term, but there are more and more sort of outcries for 25th amending him. You know what? I say just leave him in there. I know some Democrats are saying he should be removed with the 25th Amendment and all this kind of shit. I say just let him in. Just keep him in there. Just let him show the world what a fuck up he is. At this point, Catherine Real Hot Talks says, I was at the store yesterday. Some MAGA fucker made a rape joke to me. I lost my verbal shiznit. People around, I didn't care. I said things I can't say here. I'm white, so it wasn't racist stuff. And I'm good for you. And I know that must be tough. As a woman, it could be scary, probably, physically or whatever. But really, this is another thing I guess Trump is emboldening. He's bringing out the rapist, or the rapist sympathizers, or the rapist adjacent. It's like, really, this guy's going to make a rape joke? I hope that this guy. I hope this guy felt some kind of shame. Maybe I hope you were able to bring some kind of shame to this guy. Hopefully, I know some of them are so unaware. Is it unaware? Unself-aware? But I hope the guy felt bad for what he did, at least, or something, Hey, IB YouTubing's here. Hey, IB YouTubing, good to see you. IB YouTubing says conservatism is actually a confederation of the southern states. Hey, Robert Perez from down San Diego way is here. Hey, Robert, good to see you. Robert says, top of the morning to you, Trucker John. The lovely liberals chilling in the lounge. I gave Robert a little bit of an Irish accent today. Liberal Dan says, Jolie, did you see my Trump and the Empire Star Wars parody? Whoops. Catherine Real Talk says my situation wasn't racist stuff, but it was women hate. I came home, turned on Liberal Dan, cried, and drank a lot. Wow. See, this is so awful what people do to people. Drive people to tears. It's disgusting. It's so vile and disgusting. And And like I said, I guess my hope is that the guy, you know, maybe you planted some little seed of awareness or something. Hopefully something good came out of that. You know, who knows? Some of these guys are pretty thick-skulled, thick-headed. So, but I'm sorry you had to go through that, Catherine. That is so. It's so like disheartening, right? And so, you know. But there are people that are just assholes. And having a racist, misogynistic, sexual assaulter in the White House, it does embolden these motherfuckers that are out there that do that shit. IBU Chipping says attacking DEI was part of elevating white supremacy. It goes right in with their narrative. I mean, they're the ones that, you know, that's the whole Charlie Kirk thing. If I see a black pilot, I want to get off the plane. You know, it's all that shit. It all goes in there. If you saw Django Unchained, and when Leonardo DiCaprio does that big scene, and he has the skull, and he goes, "This is a skull of," I guess it was his former, one of their former slaves they had, right? It was the guy who had the job before the Samuel L. Jackson guy as his main butler. I think that's, if I remember correctly. And he had the skull, and he's like, "See, they don't have this, whatever this is. And this proves that they're inferior." This is the kind of shit they would do. Tarantino wrote that script based on a lot of truth. That was the sort of rationalization, or that was what they would believe. You know? And if you ever saw like what was the movie, like 10 Years as a Slave or whatever? And how they changed the Bible around, or they justify, or they would interpret the Bible to make them feel just and righteous and on the right side, because they would claim the Bible said they could have slaves. This is what these motherfuckers do. They did it hundreds of years ago, and they're doing it now. And that's like the very first guy in the intro was saying that. And the very last guy in the intro, he's one of the Justins, right? Was saying a little bit sooner or closer timeline. He said, I walked in, it was 2026. I walked out, it was 1965. They pine, these Southern Confederate racist pricks, they pine for the old antebellum South. And we've been saying this for a while now. Trump and his ilk, because people are saying they're taking us back to the 1950s. No, they weren't taking us back to the 1950s. They want to take us back to the 1850s. The sing-song days of the antebellum South. Oh, the good old days to them, right? Catherine Real Hill Talk says, I almost punched him in the face people just stood around and watched. Oh my God, I'm crying now because I'm so angry. We need to talk about this. Yeah, we need to talk about how there is a problem. Houston, we've got a problem with people who feel so emboldened that they can say this shit, out loud without fear of reprisal or repercussion or anything, with impunity. Aaron West says, I'm having a dilemma. GPT wrote a perfect cover letter for me. I can't think of anything I would change to make it sound more like me, laughing out loud. Well, then just go with it, I guess. Overdan says, so sorry, Catherine. Real Health Talk hugs. Yeah. Yeah, we need to give all of us a virtual hug sometimes, Catherine Real Health Talk says too many bad guys around and good guys don't say anything or do anything to stop it. We need to talk about this. Well, maybe those good guys aren't such good guys then. Hey, look, I'm not saying you got to get into a fist fight, because I was saying how my 30-year-old self would do this or do that. You don't have to get into a fist fight. Like even me, even my 65-year-old self, I could at least tell the guy, hey, look, that's fucking ridiculous, or whatever. I could, you can speak up. I can still speak up. I don't have to go, I don't have to go, I don't have to engage in fisticuffs. But yeah, so guys, if you see some shit like that going on, like I said, you don't have to get physical. It doesn't have to get physical, but you can just tell people, hey, you're out of line. Just letting other people know that you're not on board with what they're saying can go a long way. It really can. You don't have to get in a physical fight, but just otherwise your silence is sort of like complicity, right? You're sort of complicit in your silence. And that further emboldens these motherfuckers, because they think, well, no one's opposing me. I think all these other people must agree with me. But if you had one guy speak up, and then another guy's going to speak up, and another person's going to speak up, that's how it happens. Sometimes it just takes that first guy to go, hey, look, man, that's fucking out of line, man. You're out of line with what you're saying. And you can just say, hey, look, I just want you to know there's nothing I can do. Maybe you're going to be blabbing your big mouth all night long. Maybe there's nothing I can do. But I just want you to know that I don't agree with anything you're saying right now. Just so you know that. I don't agree with your racism. I don't agree with your misogyny. Maybe just that. And I'm talking to the guys out there. You don't have to go all fist city. But you can just tell them, hey, look, dude, that is ridiculous. That is fucking bullshit. And I want you to know that I think it's bullshit. So you don't assume, don't take my silence, my sitting here. I'm trying to enjoy my beer. I don't want you to think that if I just sit here that I am in agreement with you, because I'm not. In fact, I think you're disgusting. That's probably what I would say. And then just risk getting punched in the face, maybe? I don't know. Maybe might be worth it. It might be worth it. For me, for a guy. I'd be YouTubing Springsteen's Dancing in the Streets. Did Springsteen do a cover of that? I know that like the Stones and Bowie did a cover. Of course, the first cover I think was the Mamas and Papas, who had covered the when it was a recent song. It was like, I believe. Forgive me for not knowing that they were black artists, right? Who did the first Dancing in the Streets back in the '60s. I forget the name of the artist, but I know the Mamas and Papas covered it probably a few years later. That song has been covered a lot. I don't remember Springsteen covering it though. Anyhow, Jolie's got the Liberal Dan link right there. So go to Liberal Dan. Make sure you give Liberal Dan if you haven't subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, if you haven't done that, hit that subscribe button, both on my channel if you haven't done it, and on Liberal Dan's channel. I believe Liberal Dan is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube. Mad Mac is here, Slava Ukraini. Slava Ukraini. That's how they say it in the old country. Slava Ukraini. Yoo-hoo. Marsha Jones is here. Hey, Marsha, good to see you. Thanks for popping on in. Oh, thanks for popping on in. Is he dead yet? Who might you be speaking of? I have no idea. I have no idea who you're speaking of. All right, let's go. Let's see. Let's go. What's going on here? I got other memes. Now, you guys are always talking about, like, Democrats don't do anything. They don't say anything. Let's see. What's this one here? I've been seeing Elizabeth Warren and I think Sherrod Brown coming out with a lot of stuff about banning members. Well, this one here came from, I think Elizabeth Warren posted this one. Ban members of Congress from trading stocks. I've seen Elizabeth Warren. I think Sherrod Brown. I think some others. Hey, I'm all for that. Just ban them from trading stocks. You're there to serve the people and serve the country. You're not there to fucking use insider trading so you can become a multimillionaire. Do that on your own time, on your own dime, as a just regular citizen. Okay, so that's one thing that the Democrats are all for. And I agree with it. Brooklyn says, I know he did. I think I've heard every Springsteen song. I don't remember Springsteen doing Dancing in the Streets. Maybe, but I forget a lot of shit, so I don't know. Petrozzi, I never heard of Don Francisco. I heard of it a while ago, like last year. I bought some. I just saw it on the Albertsons app or whatever, or website. I really like the K-Cups of it. I think I like the K-Cup better than this, what I'm drinking now. Josh C says, chock full of nuts sounds like the cabinet. Yeah. Petrozzi, I just checked. My registration is up to date. All right. That's good to hear. Yeah, go to vote.org. Make sure you're registered. Make sure you're good. So you can vote. We need to vote. Petrozzi, I hear shit like that in Kentucky. It's gross. Well, I've told the story before I was up in Idaho, up in Paul Burrow's neck of the woods. This was probably, what year was this? It was quite a while ago. I forget when it was now. It was probably even before. It was even before Trump, because these people have been emboldened. Some of these people or places are like Indiana, certainly places in the South, and even Idaho. And we know that Idaho has a big contingent of right-wing nationalists, right-wing groups are up there, and have been up there for a long, long time. This was probably, I don't know, 2012 or 2010. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure when it was. I really don't remember. But I was at the Little Flying J right there in Lewiston. And I went in there to get some food in there. And so I was getting some food. I got a drink and I think some hot dogs or whatever, a sandwich or something. And then you had, I don't know, a guy who I think he worked there. He worked but he wasn't behind the counter. There was like the counter people. Then there was this other dude who just, I think he had a Flying J shirt on. I think he was working in the store. And then he was talking to some other dude. And I guess it was almost like MLK Jr. His birthday holiday, January 17th or whatever it is. And I heard the guy go something like something about N Day, the N word. He used the N word to talk about the MLK holiday. And he said something like, yeah, you're going to take N Day off, or something like, yeah, it was something like that. He said the N word a few times, and it was like, yeah, you're going to take, and it was all in reference to Martin Luther King Day. He was like, yeah, man, we got that N Day now, and all this kind of stuff. And so I was at the counter about ready to pay for my food, and I just kind of dropped everything, and I just backed up, and I said, no, forget it. I don't want this. I'm not buying this. I'm not doing business here if you have employees that are just going to be talking like that. I'm not giving my money here to this. You got this guy here spouting the N word left and right. So I go, nope, I'm out of here, and I walked out. And I didn't pay. I didn't get the food. I just left it there on the counter. And I said, fuck you guys. So yeah, there's things like that happen, and it's disgusting. And it's been going on, and that was before Trump. That's why we say Trump is the symptom. He's not the problem. He's the symptom. The problem is this racism that's been this generational. It's been with us since the beginning of the colonies, and and we may never get rid of it completely ever. But we need to, that shouldn't stop us from calling it out and say no. Say no. And if you have a chance to say, I'm not going to spend my money here, then you could do that or whatever. But just let people know, no, I'm not on board with it. I'm not on board with what you're saying right now. And who knows? That could plant a seed. That guy who was saying that, maybe that made him think. Maybe no one had ever said anything like that to him before, or had ever opposed the way he was talking. People get in these bubbles, and they live in states like Idaho and Indiana, where it's completely, they feel completely free to talk that way. Maybe it only takes one person to say, hey, look, no, that's not acceptable. Who knows? William's here. Hey, William, good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Mad Max says, does anyone remember that song, Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road? I do remember that. I remember that song. Nick Rich, 10 a.m. in Vegas. So I'm just 23 minutes behind. I'm only 23 minutes behind. Nick Rich, 23 minutes behind. I'm only 23 minutes, little tiny, little itty bitty, little tiny minutes behind. DBD says at some point we have to take a stand and use the power that we have, and money is our power. I'm just saying, you won't have any money if you're in jail. Just be careful. Just be careful. Mad Max says, the pervert says, you have a nice army, but those children are beautiful, all young and smiley, just beautiful. Fucking creep. I did see a video of him walking in China with all the kids jumping up and down and screaming, and he was all happy. IB YouTubing says, Trump and his maggots are given permission to grope. Beware. Jolie says, unfortunately, Trucker John, I agree. Leave him in office. Let him cause maximum destruction, because that's the only way to break the MAGA spell. Unfortunately, we have to suffer with them. And I just wonder, like, if J.D. Vance is there, if that might be worse. You know? You know what I mean? There might be more damage with him. David Weiss from Denver finished my cup of Ethiopian coffee. You really like that Ethiopian coffee, don't you? Mad Max says men that speak that way are totally compensating for their tiny penises and are usually closet homosexual. Marshall Jones, are the South more racist? I think there's more racists in the South, like just because I think the whole South not the whole South, but it's pretty racist. But that doesn't mean there's not racists everywhere else. There's racists in California. There's racists in Nevada, where I'm at. Of course, there's racists everywhere. There's racists in every single state. There are racists, but it's just really thick and it's really embedded and interwoven through the South. But there are definitely racists everywhere. I drove as a truck driver across country. I drove through Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and even in Oregon and Washington. I mean, I drove everywhere. But I saw people flying those Confederate flags in their houses, on their vehicles. And to me, if you're flying that flag, you're a fucking racist. If you're flying the old rebel flag, Confederate flag, you're a fucking racist. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. IB YouTubing says, Josh says plenty of racist motherfuckers in rural New York. Absolutely. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Don't confuse if I say that the South is racist and it's really heavy down there or whatever. That don't for a minute think that I don't know that there are racists all over the country. Hell, there might be racists right next door to me in this apartment building. Whoops. Shit, I didn't mean to clunk the table like that. Sorry. IB YouTubing says, driving from El Paso, Texas, and once you get close to Lubbock, Texas, you start seeing Confederate signs. Texas has a mixture of bigots and good people. Well, there's a mixture of good people all throughout the South, I'm sure. I mean, why does it have to be so? Why is this so difficult? Why is this so fucking difficult to figure out? I mean, of course there's good people in Texas. There are good people in Louisiana. Liberal Dan being, and his family being some of them. There are good people in Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia and Florida and South Carolina and North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia. There's good people in all those states, of course. Absolutely. But they are very, 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 very heavily racist. Those are the old Confederate states. Those are the states that started this shit. Like Jolly said, the South fired first in South Carolina and Fort Sumter. Of course there's good people in there, though. I mean, why is that even a question? Julie says, I didn't have to say anything. There was a woman sitting there with them that told them to go fuck themselves and some other choice words, so all I had to do was clap. They left not long after. And that's good that she did that. But I wasn't saying that you had to do anything, because I don't, as far as, I'm not even sure if I would have done anything if there's 5 dudes, I'm just saying that, but, that it's the guy, the men, if there were other men in that bar. And it's funny, it's a woman that did it, that stood up to them. But there should have been other men in there to, like I said, you don't have to go fist city, but you could just say, fuck you dudes, you guys are assholes or whatever, IB YouTubing says, I remember watching a documentary where some plantation owners felt they lost riches when slaves were liberated. It's always about the money. Yeah. It's all about the money. It is all about the money. These plantation owners loved money and riches so much that they didn't care about human suffering. These plantation owners were living like fucking royalty. They were literally living like kings and queens. The excesses of the South, of the plantation owners, not the regular people. The whites, the Southern whites were just as, they weren't much better off than some of the slaves. I mean, they were, but a lot of them were poor, dirt poor. But the plantation owners, they didn't want to give that shit up. They were willing to send the white Southerner, the white poor Southerners out to die for their cause. Their cause was they wanted to keep living like kings and queens. They literally were living like kings and queens. Their plantations were like, were like castles, like the shit they did. If you saw it, go watch Django Unchained, man. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about movies, and movies aren't accurate. I think Tarantino did a pretty good depiction of plantation life and capturing the mentality of the plantation owners. And there's other documentation, there's other things to look up, but these plantation owners, they lived so excessively. They made, probably, if you could adjust it for inflation and put it into modern dollars, I mean, they were the oligarchs of the time. They were the multi-billionaires of the time. They were billionaires. They were like billionaires. And they weren't going to give that up. They didn't give a fuck about any of that. They didn't give a fuck. I get so frustrated at this damn app. I really do. Trying to get things to resize and stuff. It's just ridiculous. No kings resist fascism. We, the people, are pissed off. I believe we are pissed off. We are pissed off. Let's use that anger as motivation to vote and get these fucking Republicans out of office. Trying to get this size right. I made a video the other day, or I clipped it from the last show, about how people are starving. I think people are starving for justice. People are starving to see justice done. And that's why that segment with Jolly in the intro was also that drew me to that clip. How he was talking about how after the Civil War, nothing was done. They just sent them home. All these motherfuckers that were traitors to our country, that attacked the United States and fought and killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. These guys weren't Americans, they're Confederates. And after they got their asses whooped, they just sent them home. And that's the problem. Now, I can kind of give them a little bit of, cut them some slack. They just had Lincoln assassinated. Then you had a really racist takeover, President Andrew Johnson, right? And then you had probably just fatigue, battle fatigue, war fatigue of going through 4 years of this war and hundreds of thousands of casualties. I can kind of cut them some slack for just saying, just go home. Just fucking go home to your homes. We're going to try to rebuild and get on with it. I can kind of cut them some slack. But what's our excuse now? I mean, we aren't in an actual shooting war. We're not actually in an actual shooting war like the Civil War. And we should also learn from the mistakes of the past. And that's why Trump and all these fuckers, Kristi Noem, all these fuckers, they should not just be told to go home. They should be prosecuted and imprisoned and be made an example of. That we will no longer tolerate these type of actions. We're done. We're done with we're done with the Confederates. We're done with you Confederates, always trying to attack the United States. We're done with you. We're not going to put up with you. We're not just going to tell you to go home. We're going to tell you to go to prison. It's time for them to go to prison. No more getting off scot-free. None of that. These motherfuckers, like I said, justice needs to be served on them. Josh C says most of those bigots are wussies and will walk away if confronted. Martha and the Vandellas. There you go. Thank you, William. Yeah, I think they were the original. They did the original version of Dancing in the Streets, and then the Mamas and Papas, I think, did just right after, a few years later. And then, like I said, it's been covered a million times. I just don't remember Springsteen's version of it. DBD says in 1796 TJ SP equals smallpox. What were we talking about smallpox about? Did I skip something? Did I skip something? Or when were we talking about smallpox? I must have skipped. Did I skip over something? I must have skipped something. I don't remember seeing any talk about any type of smallpox or anything like that. I just saw you talking about not paying your taxes. Just if it's something important, let me know what you're talking about. I don't know why we're bringing up smallpox in 1796. I don't know what that has to do with racism or whatever. Josh C says banning stock trading should include their staff. Yeah, anyone who is privy to this, they're getting that inside information like that. I've YouTubing correction. Bruce Springsteen, "Dancing in the Dark." Oh, I remember that song. That's the one with Courtney Cox was in the video before she was even known, right? Josh C says the staff writes most of the bills. Nick Rich, 20 past the hour. Be right back. I guess the smoke. That was 20 minutes, so I'm 20 minutes behind. Julie, I had to wash my purse today. Some drunk asshole spilled beer on it last night. It was me. Jolie, you're funny. DBD says TJ Springsteen did indeed cover a version of Dancing in the Streets early in his career with his band Steel Mill. Well, did they record it? Because I never heard it. Nick Rich crossing the highway last night. He didn't look. Oh, is this the dead skunk? He didn't look left. He didn't look right. He didn't see the station wagon car. The skunk got squashed. And there you are. You got your dead skunk in the middle of the road. In the middle of the road. In the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. In the middle of the road. Here's Bob Dylan singing that song. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. That would be Dylan's version. Crossing the highway late last night. He didn't look left. He didn't look right. He didn't see the station wagon car in the night. The skunk got squashed, and there you go. You got your dead skunk in the middle of the road. In the middle of the road. and seen. I know that's not how the song went. That was Bob Dylan's version. All right. MJ Daniels said, I saw a meme of DJT holding up a crying Chinese girl that said that he was given a 7-year-old girl to take back with him. Epstein would be proud. Yeah, that's creepy. That's creepy. Anna Moore says, anyone seen Michael McAndrews lately in other chats? I hope he's okay. I have not seen him, but I did see on Facebook that he did post, I guess it was him that posted it, an AI video with him and Fancy. But that's it. It was all AI, so that was like a week ago or something. Other than that, I haven't seen hide nor hair. Marsha Jones, I watched Mississippi Burning a few weeks ago. That was pretty brutal. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but yeah, Mississippi Burning. Was that the guy who just died recently? He's old now. Great actor, Gene Hackman. Was that the Gene Hackman one? I think Gene Hackman. I think. DVD says try watching the miniseries Roots, or even better, read the book by Alex Haley. Yeah, I saw that. I remember watching that miniseries when I was I in high school? Might have been in high school when that came out. I think maybe. It was great. It was a great series. But I still recommend Django Unchained. Josh C. says, saw a documentary about historic preservation societies and tourism in the South. It was a really mixed look. I've been YouTubing Gone with the Wind and Django Unchained are two different portrayals of the Old South. Yeah, but even Gone with the Wind, you can see how, or you can see how people kind of didn't get it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it was sort of like, oh, the poor plantation owners. Look at what look what they had to endure. Yeah, yeah, quite the is it quite the dichotomy? Is that a word? Dichotomy? Sometimes I'll just make up a word. You got to do what you got to do. Anna Moore says Roots was very impactful and it sparked a lot of conversations when I was attending college back then. Brooklyn SJU says I'm 68 and had a teacher that said they wouldn't have treated their slaves badly because they wouldn't have them able to work anymore. It was junior high or high school. Even if they treated them, nice and gently or whatever, which they didn't. But just owning another person is bad enough. Just saying that you own this person. Can you imagine that? You physically own this person, and this person is your possession. And as such, this person is not treated like a human being. This person is treated like a fucking coffee table. And you can do with whatever you want with that coffee table. You could chop it up into firewood if you want to. So just like the slave, you could treat it as nicely or as horribly as you want to, without any repercussions, because that's under the law. That is your possession. That person is your possession. So regardless of how they may treated them, may or may not have treated them, just that alone is horrible. The idea that somebody just has ownership over another person and has the right to treat them however they want, and they did. They raped them, they murdered them, and just like any part of their livestock, that's how these human beings were treated, like livestock. They were chattel. So yeah, they had an investment, and they would try to get as much out of that investment as they could, is by not just murdering them willy-nilly. But if they did, then so be it. Oh well, chalk it up, write it off. Probably a tax. Talk about taxes. Might be a tax write-off. Oops. It's just like, cows and pigs. They can write those off. It's horrible. Horrible to think that this is how human beings were treating other human beings. And the only way that they could justify it was by saying things like that these people they're not completely human, or they're made for this, or God ordains this. And yeah, William says Loudon Wainwright did that song. Yeah, Dead Skunk in the River. And here we are. We're still talking about slavery all these years later. And the reason is, like Jolly was saying, is because it's still being taught from generation to generation. People are being born into these families and taught all this racist bullshit from hundreds of years ago. So we're going to keep dealing with it. We're going to have to keep dealing with it until we get that mentality wiped out somehow. And I think maybe maybe not the only way, but maybe the best way is, like I said, is just by speaking up against it. Whenever we can, just speak up against it. Even if, like I said, it doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be physical, nothing like that. But it could just be just saying, I don't agree. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with your racist mentality, or just saying that is racist. Just call them out. It's kind of funny how there are a lot of racist people that they don't like to be called racists for some reason. They really get offended if you call a racist a racist, and then they'll play then they turn into snowflakes, and they'll be like, "Oh, you've lost the argument because you've had to resort to name calling." Well, no, motherfucker, you're a racist. And you can't admit it. Look in the fucking mirror and ask yourself some serious questions. You're a fucking racist. I had a friend in high school who was a really good friend. And he said the N-word a lot. And where I went to high school, it was almost all white. A lot of Hispanics, and in our school, you could count the number of black kids on one hand. Just to let you know where I went to high school. I grew up going back and forth between two cities, two neighboring towns. One was Victorville and one was Apple Valley. Victorville was pretty diverse. It was still majority white, but you had a really good percentage of blacks, a good percentage of Hispanics, but it was majority white, just so you know. But still, it was kind of, much more diverse. You went over the Mojave Narrows to Apple Valley, and it was almost all white. The second most would be Hispanics, I guess, and then just a tiny sliver of black people. So in Apple Valley, there were people that would say the N-word, just like in Indiana, in that bar. Just like when I was in Idaho at the Flying J. There was people that would say the N-word. And I got to say, I wasn't one of them. I that would say it. But I got to say, I don't really remember opposing it all that much. Maybe a few times. I think I did, but not nearly enough. And I feel bad about it. But you're in high school, and there are kids that say it, the N-word. Back then, this is in the 70s, late 70s, and we were basically an all-white town and school. I mean, overwhelmingly majority white. And this is a town that people claim there was a big KKK contingent, although I never saw any people in hoods and shit like that. But they said they were there. There was like this secret society thing or whatever. But I do remember my friend, like, how you're in high school, or even, I guess, don't have to, you could be in any age, I guess, but, guys get together and we're talking, and we were talking about girls, and then there was this one girl I brought up, like, it's like, who would you date? Who would you like to go out with? Who do you think is pretty or whatever? And I brought up this one girl, and she's a black girl, and she's very pretty, very nice, very pretty. And I said, her name, I said, yeah, I would go out with her. And my friend, the racist, he said, he goes, what? He goes, nah. And he thought I was kidding. He goes, nah, right? And he goes, no way. I go, yeah, oh yeah, I would go out with her. In a fucking heartbeat, I would go out with her. And he's like, no. You wouldn't do that. They're dirty. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, he was, yeah, those N-words are dirty. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I go, are you saying that just because she's black? And then he just starts kind of like laughing at me, like he's like, I can't believe you're saying this, and he goes, they're dirty. And I remember just going, that's fucked up, dude. It's really fucked up. And then he kind of walked away. We walked away. I didn't end the friendship. I probably should have just ended our friendship right there. But we didn't talk for like a long time after that, for like weeks or something. And then we were never the same really after that. But we were pretty good friends before that. But And I know where he got that shit from. He got it from his fucking parents. Who I don't know where they were from originally, but they had really Southern accents. I'm not sure if they were from Texas. I think they might have been from Texas. But it could have been any one of the Southern states. And they had really strong Southern accents. And then all their kids, who I think were all born out here in California, or out there in California, they all pretty much had a little bit of that accent too. Which is what happened. It was kind of like my mom's side of my family. They all live in Fresno, California. And our grandparents and great-grandparents all came out from like Texas and Oklahoma during the Great Depression times. So most of the kids now, or ones of my age and younger, we're all born in California, all raised in California. And most of them have barely even stepped out of the state of California. But when you hear them talk, you would think you were standing in Lubbock, Texas, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, or something. But anyhow, so this friend of mine, yeah, he got that from his folks. And now, I did keep in touch with him over the years. I know he got married, had kids and stuff. From what I've seen of his kids, I don't know. I don't know him that well, but hopefully he didn't pass too much of that on to them, In fact, one of the great ironies is that one of his sons, one of this guy's sons, married a black girl. Like I said, we haven't really kept in too much contact, but they do send, I see him on Facebook and pictures and stuff. And a few years back, I saw like wedding pictures of one of his sons, and he married a black girl. And I remember seeing that, and I was kind of laughing, like, ha ha ha! Your son married a black girl. What do you think of that? What do you think of that, buddy? Huh? Is she clean enough for you? Do you think she's dirty? I just wonder, like, no matter, maybe he's changed, I don't know, but I just wonder if every time he looks at his daughter-in-law, if somewhere in that fucking old racist brain of his is still like, I can't believe my son married this dirty N-word. Talk about irony, right, though? Kind of, and karma. DPD says, TJ, I was saying they want to take us back to 1794 before we had vaccine and people of color were slaves and women had no power and white women had all the power. I mean, white men had all the power. Dr. Edward Jenner created the smallpox vaccine in 1796. Oh, okay. Well, like I said, they want to take us back. That's for sure. Marshall Jones, Gene Hackman, yeah. DPD says Springsteen plays Dance in the Streets in live sessions. Josh says, I think talking about Michael says, Nick Rich, do I remember hearing they were dating now? I heard that too, but I didn't know if that was serious or real. Doesn't Michael live in Michigan and Fancy lives in California? I mean, I know there's things called airplanes and shit, but I don't know. Mr. Spock is here. Mr. Spock, the Fowler. I was thinking about getting. some electrical tape or something, so that next time Mr. Spock came on, I would just slap on some big black eyebrows. But I forgot to do that. And I don't have any electrical tape laying around. Maybe next time. Next time, Mr. Spock, I will get you for that. IBU to me, slaves were property back then. Yep, that's exactly what I said. Trozzy says if the plantation owners weren't so greedy, they could have paid them a wage and let them have their own homes. The whole human possession is just abhorrent. I don't understand how they got it so wrong. It's greed, Petrozzi. It's greed. They don't want to pay anything. I mean, they would go to the auctions. They would buy these human beings at auctions, just like they would go to cattle auctions and livestock auctions, and they would go to slave auctions, and they would buy people. I mean, I know you know this, but they were just evil. It's just fucking pure evil. Slavery is pure evil, and these plantation owners were pure evil. I'm not going to back off from that. It was pure fucking evil, and it was all to make them rich. And yeah, they could have been very wealthy by just they didn't have to have African tribes go and capture other Africans and then pay them to bring slaves over across the ocean and then have auctions here and buy. They could have just hired white people. I mean, I'm not anybody. They could have hired black people, white people, brown people. They could have hired anybody just to work their farms and their plantations, and still probably been very wealthy. They just might not have been able to live like kings and queens, which they loved. They loved it, and it made them really sick in the head. This generation of that, of just living so out of touch with reality, really. So out of touch with just being a genuine human being. They just thought they were above everyone else. These plantation owners. But yeah, they could have hired people from all over. They could have hired the Irish. They could have hired anybody, to come and work their fields. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to spend their money on going to auction. Then they bring their slaves in, and then they, just like you feed your pigs and you feed your cows. Well, you feed your slaves just enough so they'll be able to work. You don't put up nice housing. You put up basically barns, little shacks, just like you have chicken coops and pig pens, and maybe you have a covered area for some of your cows. So you're going to put up some little huts and lean-tos just to keep your slave chattel, protected somewhat from some of the weather, and just enough so they don't all die. You have acceptable losses. If you've got 100 cows out in the pasture, there's probably some formula of what would be an acceptable loss. Some are going to die from the elements. Some are going to die from coyotes, maybe, or whatever. You have these kind of built into your budgets and into the whole framework of your company. Same thing with the chattel, with your chattel labor. You have acceptable losses. You're going to have so much invested in the initial price, and then you can bring them home and you can start breeding them, just like you breed cows, just like you breed your pigs. You can start breeding the chattel, the human chattel, and then you build up your herd, so to speak, that way. Instead of buying from auction, you can buy a couple good breeders, at auction. And I know this sounds horrible how I'm saying it, but this is what happened. This is the truth. This is how it was. See how horrible it is? See how horrible? And there are people that stood up for this. There are people that gave their lives for this. And there are people even to this day, that will defend the Confederacy and will defend, and they will call the Civil War the War of Northern Aggression. There are people in my family from California that talk this way. And my family members that talk this way, I squarely blame that on people like Rush Limbaugh and right-wing media and Alex Jones and shit. And Mark Levine talks that way. Why would my family members in California talk this way that have never really set foot in, Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama? But they talk like that as far as defending the Civil War and saying it was a war of Northern aggression. It wasn't about slavery. It was about the North trying to tell the South how to run their affairs. It was trying to tell them how to run their businesses. It was about the North trying to take away their way of life. That's how the Southerners looked at it. And then I have family members in California talking that way. How the fuck does that happen? Well, that happens because of right-wing media. Right-wing garbage fucking media that they listen to constantly for 20 years, 30 years. Jimmy, I believe they still would lost their clout, and they weren't about to do that. It is always easier to stay the norm than do anything about it. Mr. Spock's supposed to learn from past mistakes. Mr. Spock, capitalism made slaves possible. Greed made slave possible. I don't know why Argentina. I don't know. Nick Rich, 11 a.m. Hey, I'm only 10 minutes behind. Even with all my rants, I'm only 10 minutes behind. Wow. I'm surprised. I'm a bit surprised. I am a bit surprised. We are 0 for 5 on the goals. We had a goal today of 5 super chat, super stickers. We're 0 for 5. So I'm surprised about that. We got 10 minutes, 29 seconds to get that going. You can also hit that hype button. If you guys know where the hype button is, or find it, hit that hype button. That's a good way of getting the show out. Jolie says Michael McAndrews is fine. He's just been busy taking a break from YouTube. DPD, there's a thing called long distance relationships. Yeah, I know. Mr. Spock says, don't get the black Gorilla Glue tape, TJ. You will end up giving your eyebrows a Brazilian. Mad Mac, was that DMX at the start? No, I don't believe that was. No, that wasn't DMX. I don't think. Didn't DMX die? DPD says, I want to know why we can't receive reparations. After all, they were paid to Japanese Americans in World War II, and Native Americans were given land and money. So where is ours? Hey, Democrats are on board. Democrats are on board. I've heard many Democrat talk about reparations. That's why you gotta vote these assholes out. If we stop electing these motherfuckers, you might have a shot at getting some reparations. Josh sees I found some funny stick-on eyebrow sets on Amazon. A 7-pack for $7.99 and a 2-pack for $3.99. I might have to get some of those, Josh, just for old Fowler, Mr. Spock Fowler. Jolie's reminding us that we do have channel memberships. Yes, starting as low as $1.99. We have a mid-tier for $4.99, and I am going to work on getting those mid-tier people some good stuff. And you can support the show by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Absolutely. You can hype the show too. And you can also support the show by buying me a coffee over there. Buy me a coffee. There's the link. And there's also PayPal. And for everyone who has helped over the years, over the months, I appreciate you so much. We have the GoFundMe. I think we're over $300 on that now. I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but thanks for everybody for all the support that you've given to me and the show. Mad Max says $108 to fill up my 17-gallon tank last night. What the actual fuck? Well, you can thank Trump for that. Just thank your buddy Donald Trump. Thank good old Trump. Oh, I don't have it, do I? I was going to put the, well, we got that there. You can thank Trump every time you go to the pump and you're paying $100 or more to fill up your vehicle. Just go, thank you, Trump. Thank you, almighty great Trump. DPD says my great-grandparents on my mother's side took part in Black Wall Street, which was a wealthy African community, and with lies, it was all destroyed. Is that the one that was in Tulsa or near Tulsa? That they, the black members of that community were thriving and doing very well and becoming wealthy and running businesses and all that kind of stuff. And the whites across in the neighboring town or whatever it was just couldn't stand for that. And that's when you had that big kind of massacre or whatever. Mad Mac says, and that was with a 30-cent discount per gallon from using my Chevron Visa. Doug's here. Oh, okay, Doug. I see Doug. Hello, Doug. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you. YouTube says GoFundMe is, we're still at 260. Okay. Yeah, we're still at 260. We've kind of stalled. I don't know if I'm going to... I got to start putting that little video thing out again. But one way or the other, we're going to get there, and I'm going to get that car. I'm going to get me a car. DVD says, yes, TJ. Yeah, that was the Tulsa thing. But, yeah, it's just really... it's really sad that, after all these years, we're still pretty much... I mean, we've made progress. We've made gains. I mean, it's not as bad as pre-Civil War, I mean, at least, but we have lots of racism. And we see what's going on in the South right now with whether it's Louisiana or Tennessee or Virginia or whatever, where they're just really trying to disenfranchise black people from voting, or at least having any impact on selecting their representatives. This really is taxation without representation. And I know DP was making the point about not paying your taxes, and I understand the point. I'm just saying, be careful, because that's just another way for them to arrest you or sue you or whatever. But so I get it. I get it. But here we are in the year 2026, and we're still dealing with it. We're still dealing with these racist motherfuckers. And like Jolly said, it's because it's being handed down from generation to generation. It's being taught by their parents, and then to their kids, and then their kids to their kids, and it just keeps going on. But I do think it is shrinking down. I do think that the younger generations aren't as racist as previous generations. So, it's going to winnow its way down. But in the meantime, we still have to stand up to it. And old folks like me we need to set an example too, whenever we can, to let everyone know that racism is not acceptable. It's not something that should be tolerated, especially by our elected representatives, but not tolerated really by anyone. But we have to stand up to it. If we ever want talk about make America great again, if we ever want this country to just be great, then we need to get rid of racism, at least as much as we can. Like I said, we may never ever completely 100% get rid of it, but we need to make it so it's just so tiny and insignificant that it won't amount to anything. And there will always be enough people around to shout it down. To shout it down. Not shut it down, which, yeah, we should shut it down, but shout it down. We can shut it down by shouting it down. Mad Max says, I want to get some I Did This To You stickers with the Orange Petal's fugly face on them. Yeah, I'm sure they have those all over the place. Liberal Dan says, Trucker John, I am not sure. The incel MGT, whatever, red pill morons who watch the manosphere from their parents' basements seem to be more racist than Gen X. They might be more racist, but there's not more racists. If you know what I mean. Those incel, red pill, whatever group, they as a group might be more racist than the Gen X, but overall, I think I think that overall that the generations of kids of coming up, I think, are less racist. If that makes sense. I'm trying to make sense. But in any case, like I said, that's why we, no matter what generation we come from, I guess I'm a boomer. I'm like one of the late boomers. Wherever we're at in our generations, we need to all stand up against racism together and just set the example, that way. But Yeah, these incel red pill bullshit motherfuckers. And I don't know how much of that gets kind of heightened or whatever because of social media. Like it seems more prevalent than it is. I don't know if there's polling out there that would show exactly how prevalent that they are. But I do think there are a lot of kids coming up that are turning away from even what their parents may have thought about racism. But I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there is some kind of polling or something that we could look at instead of just sort of kind of anecdotal stuff or whatever. DBD says, can we all agree that we need more progressive Democrats like Zoran Mondani because he is proving his critics wrong by getting it done? I agree that we need more progressive Democrats like Zoran Mondani. And maybe by the end of his first term, I'll be able to say his name without stumbling over it. Yeah, absolutely. I think we do. I think we need more AOCs. Hell, I'd even be happy with more Elizabeth Warrens. Who I think also said, who was this that said what meme? Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I put the right meme up. Let's see here. Oh, this is one from Warren here. It's time to ban members. Dang it. There's a stupid thing in my way here. Let's see. Let's get this out of the way. It's time to ban members of Congress from lobbying for life. I have a new bipartisan bill to get it done. Because a lot of times these motherfuckers, they will leave Congress and step into a nice multi-million-dollar a year lobbying job. And they're being used for all their connections. That they were in Congress for a number of years and they've got lots of connections. And so there's many lobby shops that say, yeah, we'll pay you $2 million a year, $3 million a year. Come on in with us, and we're gonna pick your brain and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, we need good Democrats. I think Elizabeth Warren's a good Democrat. She might not be, when you think of progressive, maybe you don't think of Elizabeth Warren because she's a self-described, I think, capitalist. I don't really care what you call yourself if the policies you're pushing out are good for the country, good sound policy. If you're in favor of single payer health care, universal health care, if you're, all these things, if you're in favor of getting us off fossil fuels and getting into green renewable energy, if you're in favor of, pro-labor, pro-unions, all that kind of stuff, then I don't care what you call yourself. I don't care if you call yourself a capitalist or whatever. But we need to get Democrats in there. But like I've said before, even the worst Democrat is better than the best Republican, in my opinion. So, Julie's got the link. This is where I did that Trump sticker, and there's the link, Mad Mac, right there. You might want to check that out. All right, guys, I am starting to lose a little energy. I need to go make something to eat. So we didn't make the goal. We're 0 for 5. Goal ended. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Saturday. Maybe we'll make the goal on Saturday. I'll be back Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, right after House Sparks, and we can we can start the conversation up again and see where it goes. EDC is coming into town starting tomorrow. They're all coming in today, probably, all the folks. EDC is the Electronic Daisy Carnival. It's basically a 500,000 person rave, a 3-day rave out at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And tonight there's a parade actually for them somewhere. I'm not even sure where it's at. I should know because I'll be probably driving in it or near it. But there's a big parade tonight, and then the next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday it's going to be EDC taking people out to the racetrack, which is like about 20 miles out of town. So hopefully lots of good fares, lots of good tips, lots of good, and for those we get any trips we take from Vegas out to EDC, we get $40 added to the fare. Boom, $40. And then anyone we pick up from there and take them back to back into town, $60. $60 is added. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if I can make some money this weekend, especially Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Hopefully, I'll make enough money to maybe I won't need to GoFundMe, and I'll make enough money to get the car from this weekend. I don't know. Although I do still have to pay my stupid storage thing, but hey, there's Big Hook. Big Hook's coming in at the last second here. DPD says, did anyone see Fetterman and Maher saying it was refreshing to see the orange pedophile speaking his mind by calling the woman reporter a piggy? I didn't see that part. Someone was playing a clip of that Bill Maher Fetterman thing, and the part I saw was, what was it? It was probably equally as stupid. I think he was talking to something about the LA mayor race, which what the fuck does he care about the LA mayor race? He's in fucking Pennsylvania. Anyhow, Fetterman's a dork. He's an idiot. Hey, like I said, man, if Pennsylvania can put somebody up against him in 2028, I think he runs again, or in 2028, then go for it. But until then, we're stuck with him, and he still votes along party lines, I think, over 90% of the time. So, but yeah, he's a real piece of work. Anyhow, guys, I gotta go. Thanks everybody for being here today. I do appreciate you hanging out with me. We'll see if the intro works today. You know what? I don't know what was going on with the intro. I mean, the outro. The intro worked. I mean, the outro, I had problems with it. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's going to work this time. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do appreciate you. Hey, not so fast there, Trucker John. You're not going to go without me saying something. Just want to say thank you, everybody for being here. I do appreciate you too. And yeah, I just a quick hello, because I know Trucker John wants to go. He's chomping at the bit to get going. So I just wanted to say a quick hi to everybody, and take care. I don't feel like saying anything mean today. Isn't that nice? Isn't that special? There seems to be a bit of a delay, Trucker John, with being able to switch seats so fastly. We're having trouble switching seats. You know, we're all getting a little long in the tooth. We're not as quick and nimble as we used to be. So, yeah, switching the seats is a bit challenging now. But yeah, anyhow, yeah, just a quick hello, and everybody. Make sure and just want to reiterate, checking your voter registration. Make sure you do that. Make sure you can vote. These primaries and elections are coming up, so let's get out there and vote, everybody. That's my message for today. And also, Thank you guys very much for being here. And make sure you subscribe. Trucker John is trying to get to 5,000. So let's do that. Yeah, there we go. 5K. 5K sub goal. Currently 4439 out of 5,000 to 5,000. So let's do it. We can do it. I think you guys can do it. I got faith in you. I got faith. Well, thank you, Paul, for Beard Guy. I'm glad you have faith. Uh-oh. Okay, we're back. Yeah, I clicked. Something popped in on my phone, and I accidentally clicked on it. So, Liberal Dan wants 2,000 by his birthday. I think Liberal Dan's birthday is next month. I mean, next week, I think, right? Or coming up. It's coming up. Liberal Dan, when's your birthday? I think Liberal Dan needs just a few hundred more to get to 2K. So let's get Liberal Dan to 2K. Let's get Liberal Trucker John to 4K. I mean 5K. I'm already at 4K. I'm discombobulated right now. 620 or 520. 520. Shit, that's only 6 days. They got 6 days. Let's get Liberal Dan to 2,000. Let's do that. Liberal Dan, Trucker Dan, and Liberal John. Yeah, there we go. Let's get all our numbers up. Let's get everybody up. Because everybody, we like to get up, especially us guys. Boston Brian wants to get his numbers up too, and Hal wants to get his numbers up. We all want to get our numbers up. So let's get our numbers up. Let's and I'm gonna stop saying that because it's not working. But anyhow, guys, thanks for being here. Hit that hype button, whatever you got to do to get more people in and get these subscriptions up. All right, guys, that's it for today. Oh yeah, words of wisdom. Do you guys have a pen and pad to write with? We're gonna close out with today's words of wisdom. Big Hook just woke up, but still get your pen and pad out. Get ready to write this down. It all kind of ties in today with the whole voting thing and the racism and the slavery. It all ties in. You're going to see how it ties in just a minute. Okay, so you guys ready? Okay, so
well, it's time to say goodbye. The show has come to an end. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Have some fun times, hopefully nothing too bad. We might talk about war crimes. Might talk about Baghdad. I doubt we'll talk about door chimes. But if we did, I'd be only too glad. So hostile of Easter, baby. The show is over, but could I ask you maybe to take a shower? No, that's not what I meant, but I couldn't think of anything to rhyme with over. Now my whole rhyming scheme is all screwed up. Oh shit, I should have stuck to truck driving, who I try to keep. So I hope to see y'all again right here on the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna do it again and again, right here in the Trucker John live stream. Yeah, the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna come back and do it all again. No, this ain't no dream. This is where we win, right here on the Trucker John live stream. No, this time to say goodbye. The show is coming in. Don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Rolling down the highway in my rusty old rig. I'm a retired trucker, but my spirit's still big. Living in Vegas, where the lights never sleep. Broadcasting my thoughts for the world to keep. From politics to pop culture, I've got it all. Sharing my views, no matter how big or small. Talking about food and movies and bugs, shining a light on all the social issues. No shows, I've driven through the desert, seen the city so bright. But now I'm living in a different kind of fight. From my apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. My apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. So you want to take a trip down Paradise Road, but it ain't that pretty, it ain't paved with gold. Everybody's got the dirty little secrets, everybody's got some things unknown. But if you ain't real careful, baby, it'll cut you down to the bone. Under all those bright lights, you've gotta learn to ignore the glitter. It's all about fight or flight, and you don't wanna do either. So go on down to Paradise Road, it'll make you wish that you were young. But all it'll do is make you feel old and regret trading in your love for lust. It's all just a big charade, it's all just one big game, and it ain't about love. It's all about the thrills, it's about staying in the hunt, it's about going in for the kill. So head on down to Paradise Road, that's where your friends are now. They're the people that nobody knows. So go ahead and make your big show. So live it up on Paradise Road, just don't let anyone know. It'll be your dirty little secret, it'll be your guilty little pleasure. Living a secret that the whole world sees, hiding in plain sight among the scum and the thieves. So damn hard to ever be pleased. Everyone wants to live the good life, Everybody wants a piece of paradise. But where would you run? Where would you hide? What would you do to buy a little more time? Grandiose dreams of happily ever after are really just another day's end. And when the sun goes down, you just lay there wondering, can you really do it all again? You're praying for one last shot. You're hoping for one last big win. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along.
Show's over. I'm out of here, folks. Bye.